All right. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Grow Your Business Smarter, Live Your Optimal Life TV show. I'm really excited today. I woke up this morning and I was just in this tremendously excited mood. And I know why it is. We try to keep these evergreen because people watch them at any time of the day or night on streaming. But the truth of the matter is, we are 1 week away from what is upcoming for me, which is our Ladies Power Lunch Fall Summit. So, hi everybody, I'm Dr. Davia Shepherd, and I'm your host for the Grow Your Business Smarter, Live Your Optimal Life TV show. I host a women's group called Ladies Power Lunch, and what we do over there is basically it's a free group. We get together and we collaborate to grow each other's businesses. It's as simple as that. We just get together, we network with each other, and we are heart-centered women in business and a few men, and we get together and we support each other in a heartfelt, heart-centered way, and we grow each other's businesses. We started out as 6 women in a Ruby Tuesday on Route 6 in Bristol, Connecticut, and we have grown to be an international movement of women who just really, really believe that when we support each other, everybody wins. And so twice a year, we have a summit, a conference, a coming together of minds where we come together and we share the knowledge that we have in the hope that everybody will learn and everybody will win from what we have to share and what we have to offer. So of course, on today's show, we're going to be talking a little bit about Summit, and I'm excited. I'm often excited though, so you're probably not very surprised. And one of my very, very favorite people is on our show today. Amy Flores Young is here, and she is going to be talking to us. She is one of our presenters on our Fall Summit, and she's also one of the authors on our best-selling anthology, Ignite Your Leadership, which accompanies our Fall Summit. So let me explain. There's so much explaining to do. People say to me all the time, oh my goodness, I have this amazing message to share with the world. And 99.999% of the times when they say to me they have this amazing message to share with the world, it is actually, guys, an amazing message that they have to share with the world. It's something like the world needs to go, step on the brakes and listen to this amazing message. But of course, the world is not listening to this amazing message. The world is going by. And so they're like, I need to really figure out how to share this message with the world. And I say to them, well, all you need to do is just do these 7 things, just do these 7 things. I promise you, you do these 7 things over a 12-month period, your message will be out there. And not only will it be out there, it will be out there in front of the right people. Well, I start to tell them what the 7 things are. And I think by the time I reach to about thing 4, their eyes start glazing over and they start backing away slowly and receding into the shrubbery, sort of Homer Simpson-like. So I don't really do that share anymore because I realize sharing that information is not valuable. What's valuable is offering this 12-month program that actually builds out the framework of the 7 things that you need to do to be visible to the people who need to see you. And basically, Amy is one of the people who stepped into our program and who's doing some of the things that we say. So Amy is one of the authors in one of our anthologies, and she's one of the speakers on one of our upcoming summits. And those are 2 of the things, 2 of the 7 things that we talk about: speaking and being a best-selling author. So Amy, welcome. Thanks so much for, I mean, I know you're super busy. We were just talking before the show and you're talking about, oh, you're going to be traveling and then you're coming back in time for summit and all of this fun stuff. You're a busy lady. So can you tell us who you are and what it is that you do?
Sure. I'm Amy Flores Young, known as Flo-Yo. And what I do is I'm a full service travel professional, but there's, as Davia always says, there's so much more that comes with that. A huge piece of what I do is support coaches, consultants, thought leaders in bringing their in-person events to life and making them experiences and not just events. And we do that through our Impact Retreat Roadmap, and that's the whole thing. So it's really getting people's retreat dreams into reality and making sure that they're not only wonderful events, but profitable events, because we are business leaders as well.
So I love retreats. I would have to say, of the things that I do for Ladies Power Lounge, retreats are perhaps number 3 on my list of favorite things that I do with Ladies Power Lounge. Just love them, love them, love them. How I can tell you how I got to start doing retreats. Basically, a patient said to me, Doc, why don't you do retreats? I was like, okay, I'll do retreats. April, my dear friend, is also on the call with us today. April is a human design projector. I'm also a human design projector. Basically, April, I was invited. A patient said, do retreats. I thought to myself, is this a correct invitation? Yep, correct. I started doing retreats. Amy, how did retreats come into your life? How are you in this retreat business?
Yeah, well, I love that it was very natural progression, excuse me, natural progression in what I was doing, my past experience, and how it all kind of came together, for those of us who use that language, to really be a zone of genius place, of not only doing what you're competent in, but really what is that zone of genius when you're in flow and things come easily. And it was hard for me to really understand. I think it took me a while to really understand that not everyone thought the way I did and processed that way and came through the process of planning in that same way. So it was really just listening as my traditional travel business kind of grew. I was already specializing in groups, book clubs that wanted to travel, and youth groups, and, groups in general. And more through building network and collaboration, I met more and more thought leaders and coaches and people in that holistic and healing space. And they were all doing these retreats, which was wonderful. Or they were afraid to do retreats because they didn't understand all the logistics and planning and how to make it come together. So I bring over 20 years experience in nonprofit leadership, and that includes strategic planning and budgeting and events and all of those things. So it was a combination of that previous career life experience blending with my travel experience and understanding group work and all of those things that just made retreats and those live events the perfect kind of experience for me to support.
Here's a question for you, Amy. Really, really important question for our friends who are watching along with us at home. back in the day when I I'm gonna say probably about 10 years ago when I just started leading retreats, I didn't know I needed you. I didn't even think I needed you. I was like, okay, my patient said I needed to start leading retreats. I'm gonna go start leading retreats now. Let me see where I can find in Costa Rica where I can go start leading a retreat, and off I went.
Mhm.
And I could just tell you, every single retreat that I led, one, I lost money. Every single retreat. And two, I would say they were good. They weren't great. I would say filling them was difficult because the same people who were happily telling me that I should lead retreats were not necessarily the same people who were happily open to buying the tickets for the retreats.
Right. Mhm.
So, can you tell me, like, what are some of the things that you wish people would understand about why they need support, especially when they're in that early phase of leading retreats?
I think it's almost two sides. It's the what we want, the source side, the where is this inspiration? Like you said, was it a correct invitation? So there's that kind of bigger picture piece, but then there's the business side too. Like it's both of those, the logistics side. But in the, I want to do a retreat, I want to bring an audience together, whatever that looks like for you, you also have to take that deep, hard look at your intention. And that's, I mentioned that we do the impact retreat roadmap, and the I stands for intention. And our tagline is increasing your impact and income with intention. So that I is really big for us. It's all about the intention and being really clear, not just the intention of the event and what the outcomes will be and why you want to bring a group together, if that makes sense, but the intention of how does this fit for me? And if you want to think of it in like business terms, how does this fit for me and my brand and what I already offer? And, if you're already offering book anthologies and, if you're already offering book anthologies or 6-month coaching packages or one-on-one or master, like whatever you're already offering, it has to fit into the flow of that. And that's, I think some people get so focused on the experience and the event itself, they might not look at that bigger picture of how it fits in. And also, just because you have a great, like you were saying, online presence or something, that doesn't mean those are the people who are going to invest and purchase the spots. So then you have to take a look, like I said, kind of on that business side of it, of when you're clear in your intention, that next piece becomes more easily identified. Who is the audience? Who would this be for? Who am I looking to connect with for this? And then, as you said, a lot of times people lose money or don't quite hit the profit point they thought they were going to. And that's where another place in that process of having somebody else look at that is, and sometimes it's easy things. Like you found this amazing location, but it's kind of in the middle of nowhere, far from an airport or not easy to transport to. So you have higher transportation costs, right? And higher excursion costs, and everything is higher because of that location. And it doesn't mean, like you said, it doesn't mean the location wasn't amazing and that your content isn't transformative. Sometimes it's just those pragmatic pieces that the big, the big picture feelers don't want to see the pragmatic piece. So it's just, like you said, so how do you know if you need support? It's someone to just keep you accountable to all of those pieces. And almost everyone I work with there's a cycle to it where everybody wants to say, oh, forget it, right? Like, oh, forget it. It's too much. I'm not doing it. So you kind of also need that guide to say, yep, everybody feels like that, right? Because retreats are supposed to be light and supportive and healing and all of those things. So you go into it with that energy, and then it gets a little heavy because you're planning it, right? The plan gets a little heavy and you want to put it down. So we're there to help you and guide you in carrying that through. And then I will say, yes, the first few, not that they're rough in that way, but they're rough around the edges. But once we soften all that up and smooth all that out, building a momentum and a cycle in your events is key to the long-term continuation and success of them.
So, Amy, I'm watching this TV show and I'm thinking, okay, I'm a woman in business. I kind of like hanging out with my clients sometimes. Who is the kind of person who adding retreats into their business would make sense? Who's a good person who would make sense for them to, you know what? I was about to say pick up the phone, but picking up a phone nowadays is a little bit of an aggressive move. Who would be the kind of person who would connect with you on LinkedIn or connect with you on social media or check out your website? Who is that kind of person?
So similar to what you said, you have to kind of listen in and feel like there's a feeling of if you're that type of leader, that do you have it, because I think everyone has it, but do you want to hold that in-person energy? Is that where you thrive? And I work with a lot of coaches who would consider themselves severely introverted. So that's not what I'm saying. That when they're on and they're delivering amazing transformational content, but they know themselves and we've figured out their flow, that after they need breaks as well. So you have to understand your leadership style and your energy to really feel if retreats and events are the right place for you. So once you kind of say, yeah, that's me, I love in person, I understand that there's something that happens in that in-person space that can't be duplicated anywhere else. That's where I want to be. Those are the people who should connect. But also, understanding that it's retreats are not, and I think this is the misconception, is not that if you build it, they will come. People think, well, if I make this amazing event, how can it not sell? And in my experience, I'm not saying it doesn't happen, right? There's always things that happen. But in my experience, you have to have a well-established brand identity, a well-established audience. You have to already have the energetic exchange of money with your clients. Some of those foundational pieces to a business before you start incorporating events and retreats.
So, you know what, I absolutely agree with everything that you're saying, Amy. And my experience with retreats has been that I do my best retreats when I build them in as part of a program offering. So instead of offering a retreat and opening it up to John Street Public or Jane Street Public, say, hey, come by my retreat. What I offer is I offer a program, and as part of the program, my attendees to my program get to come on my private retreat.
Yes.
And that is when we all, in our little private bubble, have a fun time together. So we in my way of delivering retreat do it a different little way, but I absolutely enjoy retreat. And I was wondering, what sorts of businesses have you found do best with incorporating retreat into their business model?
Yeah, and it's funny, if I look at my board where all my people are at, there's it's not really industry specific. We have
Mhm.
chefs, artists, authors, publishers, business strategy coaches,
That's a
as
good
well.
one. That's a
Yeah,
really
like
good
business
one.
strategists, because they're working in
Yeah.
a tangible, on something tangible, to take away a lot of, I would just say, wellness and healers in
Yes.
general, because those modalities, I work with a lot of different,
Mhm,
people
mhm.
who would identify themselves differently based on what they're offering and what those modalities are. Um, we have a martial arts specialist who does brings in that deeper spiritual work, but through the lens of martial arts. Um, I'm just trying to think of some of our slightly more creative. We have a widows group. We have book clubs, like I said, who are incorporating, like you, kind of into the program. They're incorporating these trips
Mhm.
that are a little more than a traditional travel trip. That's really what it is. And
I'll
I
tell
have
you a
some.
fun one. You're gonna find
What?
this one hilarious, Amy. So, as you know, I got retreat certified as a certified retreat leader some many years ago, and two people who are being certified along with me. One is an accountant, so she does retreats for her accounting clients. I I cannot imagine going on an accounting retreat,
Right.
right? I just
Yep.
I,
I
I, I
have
don't see
I
that.
have
My
one.
husband's like accountant. I don't think so.
Yeah,
No.
but I have one who was a CPA and financial advisor, but now is more of a money coach.
Okay.
She doesn't utilize I want to say, like, the certifications of her background, you know what I mean? So she's not held to those,
Hmm.
all of those, what you can and can't promote type of things. But she brings what's hers called? Mind of Gold. Like, I had to go look what it was called. Um, in similar things. So they're bringing women together to talk finances and wealth and management and manifestation and all of those pieces to that. So like I said,
Now,
it
see,
really
I
isn't
would go to
industry
that.
specific. That one you would go
I
to.
would go to that because that sounds juicy. That sounds
Yeah.
really great. So, hey, maybe I would go to an accounting retreat
Mhm.
after all.
Again, it's just all intention and alignment and how you do it. And I do work with um a it's about 50-50, as you were saying, who incorporate it into some other program. I also have a few coaches who it is a bonus of their program. So that basically half fills their event. Um,
Mhm.
and then they do also open it up as an a la carte, if you will, session for either past clients or people who might be wanting to come in and can't commit to a program, but they might be able to do the week, that kind of stuff. So there's a lot of ways to incorporate it, and it doesn't always have to be 7 days in Costa Rica, or there's a lot of different ways that a retreat can look, and it's finding out what fits for you and your offers.
So let's say, okay, so I have another friend who's an attorney, and she's also a certified retreat leader, and she does retreats for, I kid you not, her law clients. Don't ask. I don't know what that looks like, but she does. Say I'm an attorney and I decided, you know what, I love retreats and I just want to do retreats. What's my next step? How do I connect with you, and what is my thought process going to be going forward as I
Well,
start thinking about retreat?
there's two different people we work with. Someone like that who wants to build a retreat focused retreat focused business, and we
Mhm.
would take them through that impact program, which is intention, methodology, profit, action, clients and customers, and takeaways. Like, you've got to go through the whole. I had to remember them all. you kind of have to go in that. Obviously, those are deeper discussions on each one of those, but it has to spell the word, right? So that's
Oh,
that's what it makes out. So we go through that process, which helps clarify all of these kinds of things that we're talking about. Then actually building out the event is the next step.
okay.
So some people come in and they need a lot more on that roadmap side. Someone similar to yourself who's already done events and has the leadership experience, all of those pieces, your roadmap would be more of a review, making sure we're aligned and things are still a fit, and then more on the event management side. If that, so we have people who come in at all different steps of the process.
Yeah.
And right now we're working mostly with people who have done a good handful of events. And that's usually what it takes. You kind of have to play around a little bit and then
Mhm.
realize, yep, like you said, yeah, I need some help.
Yeah.
Or there's got to be a way to make this a lighter lift, and there's got to be a way where we can clean up some of these things. So I like to say that working with me, we take you from, you think you're a retreat leader, but we take you from retreat manager to retreat leader. You're actually more in a management role until you're able to give that up, and transition to full leadership.
You know, Amy, I had the most amazing experience some time ago when I was able to, and I should say for our viewers that when we talk about retreats, Amy really does focus on doing a lot of the retreats that entail a lot of the travel and that sort of thing. But even things like the summit that we're putting on, Amy does the organizational structure for things like that as well. And I have the really tremendous privilege to be able to be what we call executive producer on Summit. I would say 2 summits ago was the very first time I was executive producing at Summit, because every single time before that, I was the slog on the Summit. I was the producer. I was head cook and bottle washer. I remember one Summit, I was under a table, my bum was in the air looking for a bag to give, a swag bag to give to somebody who she got her thing mixed up, and I was the one who was like troubleshooting. I was like doing every last thing, producing the event, just everything. It was nice to be able to have management of each step of the way. And the very first time that I ever had that was, I'm going to say maybe 2 or 3 summits ago. And you, gentle viewer, would not believe just the ease and the flow that comes along with something like that.
Yeah,
Speak to that a little bit, Amy.
yeah, and it changes energetically, it changes everything.
Mhm.
And that's huge. And that's what I'm saying. You can't be, in as much as, again, you're chief cook and bottle washer, yes, you have to kind of know everything that's happening,
Yes, you
because
do.
you know stuff happens and you need to be able to be proactive or reactive, depending on, no matter best laid plans, there's always something. I got a text this morning, I have a group in Oaxaca, Mexico, and a flight changed, so now they need a 4:15 a.m. pickup. And so I'm on, so, but knowing someone's there that can say, hey, call the transfer guy, switch this around and handle it, let me know what time they're picking up, versus you on site managing people and then having to manage the transfer guy. So that's what I'm saying. Energetically, it's just so different. You get to truly understand what fully present means.
Mhm.
And I think you're right. People don't understand the value in that until they experience it. You get to truly be present in full leadership with the energy of your people, with none of those little distractions.
The card I pulled for us today is from the Enchanted Map Oracle cards by Colette Baron Reed. And the one I pulled is solitude. And I feel like it fits really well with what you're saying, Amy. It says, I am comfortable in my own skin as I detach to replenish my soul. Meditation is required when you receive the solitude card as a sign. Empty your mind of superfluous thoughts and allow stillness to flow through your whole being. This is not an advantageous time to ask questions or push forward in any way. Rather, it's a period for a conscious retreat. What is called for now is to step back and take your focus off of your life and your troubles. You'll be surprised how things sort themselves out once you've replenished your energy by means of a much needed rest and time out. So I feel like the cards have spoken. We all need some kind of a retreat. And if we are healers, leaders, teachers, speakers, authors, coaches, professionals, whatever it is that we do in our business that supports others, uplifts others, if we are offering an opportunity for a retreat, that's the icing on the cake that even makes it better. And so if you are in need of that kind of service, reaching out to Amy is great. Amy, how can people find you?
The easiest way is FloYo Travel, FLOYO, because that's my last name combined. So FloYoTravel.com. Amy at FloYoTravel.com, and I am on LinkedIn and Facebook as Amy Flo-Yo.
Amy, it's been so great talking to you. Thank you everybody for tuning in, and we'll see you guys on the next show. All right. So we're gonna switch gears a little bit, and we're just gonna have a little conversation. Awesome. I'm gonna change the view a little bit. Okay, here we go. Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for joining the Ladies Power Lunch show. Today, my very special guest is Amy Flores Young. She is an amazing person that every single one of you have to get to know. Amy, thank you so much for joining us today. Can you share with everybody who you are and the amazing things that you're doing in the world?
So happy to be here. Always love being in Dr. Davia's energy. It's always uplifting and makes every day better. So thank you so much. I am Amy Flores Young, known as Flo-Yo, and I am here to help coaches, consultants, healers increase their impact through intentional events. That's really what it is. Everyone has an impact, right? No matter what profession you're in, you're making an impact on the world. And maybe it's a small ripple, and we want that ripple to get bigger, and we want those ripples to overlap with other ripples to just keep elevating the impact and make it a better place for everybody. That's really what it comes down to when I think about why I do what I do. It's letting people share their gifts in their best way.
When you're looking out at the healers, leaders, teachers, authors, speakers, professionals that are uplifting their clients, and you see them, maybe not having the income or the impact that they might want to, what are some of the things that you would hope that they would do a little bit differently?
The first and foremost, I think when I see someone, and again, everything is relative and it all depends on where they're coming from, all of those things. But the first thing I see is to really take a look, and are they valuing themselves? And I get a big pet peeve of the coaches and business strategists who tout and lead by high ticket offer, and they basically make more by raising your prices, right? Like, that's not what I mean by that.
Mhm.
I think take a deeper look into what to value the gift you have that you are sharing with the world, because not everybody does it, right? We all have amazing gifts, but not everyone puts themselves out there to share it and lead by it, right? So look at the transformations you're making, whatever that is, right? Whether you're a lawyer, a CPA, or a healer, wellness provider, coach, author, everyone makes a transformation with people they interact with. So look at that transformation and value it. And I think that's where, because most people in that type of space, we're givers, right? We're givers, we're of service, we're educators, all of those things. So we're used to giving and not receiving. And
I
as
want to
as a
talk
way.
some more about this. I feel like there is some value in talking a little bit more about
Mhm.
valuing ourselves. I
Yeah.
think we just lost some viewers here. People are like, yeah, too much on the phones, guys. I feel like it's really an area where we need to focus a little bit more. Is it because the thing that we do, we're so good at it that it's almost as easy as breathing for us that we aren't valuing it? Is that the reason?
I think that's a piece of it. For some people, they think it's no big deal because it comes easy. But also because it comes easy to you, same thing, like no, oh, nobody's gonna pay for that.
Mhm.
Or I'm gonna make a really low entry point, right? And that's great for starting, right? Like, um, but again, you have to look at it when you're starting out. That first set of pricing is kind of important. Um, and what and it is an energetic exchange. And I am not, and Dr. Davia will say, like, as much as we are groups of healers and coaches and trainers, like, I am not deep in the, as we say, woo-woo space. Let's put it right. Like, so
Okay.
but for me to say it's an energetic exchange and understand, I don't want people to think like, oh, that's so up here. Like you said, no, if you're used to doing $10 transactions, it's a big jump to $100 transaction,
Sure.
right? Versus if you're doing 25s and then 30s and 40, like there's a difference. And when I work with people in a big piece of what we do is pricing and profitability. And that's what I see is they've been doing $97 offers or $97 and now they want to do a $5,000 event retreat. There's a disconnect there. So that's what I say is you have to value what you do and value what you offer. And it doesn't, like I said, doesn't mean price $10,000 just because high value offer. It has to be a balance of price fairly, but price with some pride and confidence in what you do. If that makes, I have a lot of people who come with a little bit of fear of raising the price.
So how do you get these clients who are coming in with a little bit of fear of raising the price? They're coming in feeling like, this thing that I do, you know, I'm really good at it. It's so easy to me that it's almost like breathing. I could do it with my eyes closed, so I don't really put that much value to it. How do you get past that resistance that they do have up to get them from a $90 offer to actually increasing them feeling the worth
And
of
because
the
I am
offer?
not a business coach or business
Mhm,
strategist in that way, I really see myself just more as a guide,
mhm,
and a support to those other people on your team that may be giving you that type of advice. So for me, it comes down to numbers. We have a very standardized, if you will, type of budget form that
mhm.
we go in and you put in all the numbers. And when you like, this is it, these are the numbers. that's usually an easy into that conversation of, this is not going to be profitable. And then when I say, what do you consider a good profit point for this type of event or this type of experience? Somebody might, well, I just want to, make sure I cover my bases. And it's like, well, no, when we build out this event, you're doing 10 hours or whatever, 10 hours of service sessions, whatever you want to call it. If this was a one-on-one client or a group program, what would you charge for 10 hours? Sometimes they forget, like they disconnect it from the other parts of their business, right? So it's like, well, so we make sure that part of that budget process, and I don't want to say it like that way, like is their hourly rate, but it's what they're bringing to, to the program. And again, a lot of people skip that or misinterpret some of that. So when we put it in the sheet and in the numbers, that's usually the best way to get people to see it and understand that, yeah, it's not, we're just going to add 10 grand just to add 10 grand. But this is, you're giving your time, your energy, your gifts. That's part of the budget, not just the accommodations and the food and the insurance and whatever. That's what I say. You have to make sure you're valuing what you're bringing to the experience.
I love that you make it math. You don't make it emotional.
Right.
You make it math. And my son says, if it's math, it's true. Mom, if it's math, it's true. So yeah, I love that. Show you're working, show the numbers.
Yeah.
The numbers will show you what's up. What are some of the do's and don'ts that you would suggest to some of us healers, leaders, teachers, coaches, authors, speakers, professionals who might be thinking of adding events or adding retreats to the offerings that we have to make a more robust offering from our practices?
One of my biggest, one of the biggest pieces that comes up, and it's a little bit down the road, but you said, what are some of them? So something to think about is location. And I do a lot of speaking on location. And is location important? Yes and no. Almost exactly 50-50. So
Okay.
Location, and hear me out. Yeah, hear me out on this. Location is important because yes, it needs to align with the outcomes and the transformation that you're looking to bring your audience through. So it needs to be an appropriate location, right, for that. But the flip side is, if you are relying on your location to sell your offer's not ready yet. Like, we'll do Italy, we'll do Costa Rica, we'll do whatever, right? Like whatever is your bucket list.
That is so true. That is so true. I'll tell you a funny, not funny at all story. One of my early iterations, because as y'all know, retreats are a part of the offerings that we offer through Ladies Power Lounge. One of my early iterations of retreat was, oh, we'll do a retreat to Costa Rica. And we built out this beautiful retreat. And we were relying on Costa Rica to sell the retreat. Suffice to say, the number of people that signed up for that retreat barely covered our costs. I mean, like we every retreat that we built lost money. Every single one.
And that's like I said, so as much as location is important, you have to be very clear. Again, that I tell you, everything I do has that I. It's that intention. Every sentence I say starts with intention. I should just like write it across my forehead. If you are adding retreats to your business model, they are not group travel trips. You are never going to outprice a group travel trip. I'm a travel professional. I'm going to tell you that right now. If you're looking for a group vacation deal, that's not what you're doing. And if your audience, if that's the audience you're pulling in, that's not a retreat. Is that like a retreat is that unique in-person shared travel experience. And even so I'm in Massachusetts, even if that's just to Connecticut, right? A shared experience with a transformational outcome. And when I say transformate, it doesn't have to be in the healer wellness space. You know, I work with business strategists that make transformation for their clients. I work with artists and chefs and authors who, you know, even doing a writing retreat, they're leaving with a transformation or an outcome, a product, whatever that piece is. That's the value of the retreat, not the location. So they have to really, yes, you have to have an amazing location or people are going to be bored and not come. But you also have to have that value, that meaningful, aligned, intentional outcome that is going to draw people in. If you think we'll get them to come because yeah, it's Italy and it's amazing, you're never going to price it better than the culinary tour that I can get you on the other side, right? So people aren't buying it for the location, truly. They're buying it for that emotional transformation, that self-awareness, you know, all of those pieces. That's what a retreat is. So if you do not have a clear, intentional outcome, other than let's hang out and relax, refresh, rejuvenate, which is important. That self-care stuff is important, but that's not going to sell a retreat. Right.
Yeah. And the purpose of our retreats with Ladies Power Lunches, they are transformational retreats. Their intention is to transform your abundance, your income, and your impact in your business. That is the whole purpose. And so, yes, Costa Rica is nice, but please believe that wasn't the full intention. Now we've been doing our retreats and we've been going to Bermuda, which for us is a hop, skip, and a jump. Like we could probably swim there.
Right.
Okay, maybe not. It'll probably be a little bit of a slog,
but that's exactly it. You had that experience, and then like we talk about when we do our budgeting and our profit pricing sheets, when I say plug the leakages, that's it. When people say, oh, I want a place that's this, and this, and it's like, okay, why are you going to do a 12 to 30 hour flight with layovers and all of those glitches that might happen when you can do, depending on where you are in the world, right? Like maybe Mexico, maybe South America, maybe Caribbean, other places. Like we try to take out not only the financial liability pieces, but also the glitchy travel pieces and the passport pieces or whatever, you know, you want to streamline and simplify it as much as possible. And again, we still do Bali in Europe and Costa Rica and we do those locations. I'm not saying they're not valid, valid and valued locations. But again, it has to fit with everything else you're offering.
I am sure you have additional do's and don'ts that you want to share with us, Avery.
Yeah. I always look at it also from the customer experience to make sure, you know, it's not a group vacation, it's a retreat. And for me, part of being on retreat is that disconnection, or is that where, you know, that where you're stepping out of your normal routine. I'm not making all the decisions anymore because I'm on retreat, right? I'm going into my transformational space. So I've never understood why retreat leaders don't start that from like door to door. My biggest pet peeve is we're starting a retreat. Here's the location, 4 o'clock on Thursday. And they don't support, yes, we're all adults and we can figure it out, whatever, but they don't support the participant in their travel, in just, again, travel is difficult if you don't do it all the time. I travel all the time. So for me, it's like whatever, but I also understand not everybody feels that way about travel. There is some, even if you're not afraid of flying or if there's anxiety around travel, did I give myself enough time? Did I pack the right things? So supporting your participants from, stage one of that is really important. So think beyond the collective event, think of it as a full experience. So that's a big piece that we try to bring to our clients as well. And the biggest thing too is the Goldilocks principle, the too much, too little, just right. In whatever, in your content, in your experiences, whatever you're delivering on retreat. A lot of leaders want to blow everybody away on retreat, right? So they're like, content. And while it's wonderful, that's so much content that maybe it's going to sit on a shelf because it's too much. Or it's so much content that, great, I don't need you anymore. You've already shown me everything you have. And that, as a coach, leader, business person, you're doing a disservice to yourself on that end. So it is really important to balance. And then I've been on other retreats where it's too much free time because they want you to take advantage of all that the location has to offer and get that self-care time and this time. And then it's like, well, I paid all of this for this, right? So you have to make sure it's really balanced. And part of that balance is also, before you launch, figuring out what your invitation is going to be. You have these people, maybe they're already in a program with you and you're going on retreat. Maybe it's a blend of past clients and maybe a little bit of lead gen for new clients. So now they've been on retreat with you. And I like to think of retreat almost as a sampler appetizer. You get a little bit of everything when you're on retreat, right? And then you want to invite them to stick around for dinner. And that's be part of our collaborative book, join us in another program, work with me one-on-one, let me be your lawyer, like whatever that next step is for you in your business. You have to always know what your end invitation is going to be before you build out your retreat.
Absolutely. I'm sure, Amy, that you have some stories about retreats gone wild. I mean, retreats gone wrong.
And wild, yeah. Yep. There's a lot. And these are not all mine, but I've had clients come to me because of things gone wrong and they say, oh, I need backup on this. One example is someone who had dabbled in retreats for quite some time and had done a lot locally because they live in an amazing place in the country. That's a vacay kind of a place that people want to travel to anyway. So again, they got to do it locally for them and bring everybody else to this amazing space. Like I said, it doesn't always have to be this exotic, international destination. But because it was so local, she knew so many of her vendors and people in community. So her chef called her the day before the retreat was supposed to start and said, I got a better paying gig, I'm not coming, because she never had a contract. It was a friend, it was, we've always done it.
Wow. That's
this way of a thing. And luckily come and help out and they could call in some reinforcements and she wasn't in the middle of Mexico somewhere. But that really highlighted, again, no matter how good your relationships are, you still need contracts and things like that. Yeah. So that's an example. There's always travel issues, and that's what I said, even in the best of circumstances, things will happen. And it's all about your leadership and your presence in how that's going to roll. That just happened a few months ago. We had a group on what I call the west side of Mexico, because I'm on the east side, on the west side, and they got to the hotel and things weren't, the resort, it was, big resort, and things were not as planned right yet. So they were, the leader had to work out some things. We were on the phone, we were communicating back and forth, and then the resort lost power.
Ooh.
So obviously, needless to say, the leader was not in the best space at that time, because it's 98 degrees and there's no air conditioning in the rooms because they lost power. So I, again, having that backup person to vent against and to work together with. So that was, I had to remind her, your energy will lead the group. Yes, needless to say, this is not what anybody wants, but this is not your fault. She was all like, oh my God, I'm so embarrassed and this, and I'm like, this is not on you. This is the resort. They're going to get it fixed. They're going to take care of it. But your energy will lead the response in however, if you bitch about the air conditioning for the next 3 days, that's what they're going to remember. If you let it go and take them out to dinner and do something different, right? I don't want to say distract, but to move past and give them a different memory, that changes the whole flow. And she messaged me after and she was like, thank you, that's exactly what I needed. And it was an amazing event and everybody left raving about it. And not really, obviously they're going to remember, I'm sure, the power outage, but it was not the main event of their experience that it could have been.
I love that. I love that so, so much, because you know what? Life happens and we don't always have control over the things that happen, but we always have control over how we respond to the things that are happening around us, and how we respond sometimes can influence the energies that are happening around us. So great, great, great suggestion. Last question for you, Amy. People who tune into our show, they like to get a little bit of homework. So for those who might be tuning in, maybe they're watching along on our YouTube channel, or maybe they're listening on our podcast, give us a little bit of homework. Give us one thing that we can do. Look at our business, maybe see something that we can do to start thinking, getting those wheels turning as far as retreats are concerned.
Again, depending, I'll have two, because it depends where you are in your business.
Two pieces of homework.
So
there will be a quiz next week.
Yeah. First and foremost, for those who are more like not starting out in business, but starting out thinking events or retreats, look at your current offerings, as we kind of mentioned before. Look at your current client journey. What can people sign up for? Are you doing workshops, webinars? What's your funnel? How are you getting people in, and what are they currently working on with you? And look at that and see how and where retreats would fit in. And if you go, they really don't, doesn't mean forget retreats. It's like, okay, how would I shift some of this to open up my business time for retreats? So I think that's kind of a first piece. If you're already there and you're kind of doing some events, or you've done some events and maybe they weren't as profitable as you had hoped and things like that, I would then say to go to FloYoTravel.com and download the Retreat Profit Calculator, which is a basic version of what we go through with you. And you can list out all of the expenses and see them all kind of in real time. And as we said, there's a line item in your budget for your coaching fee, or whatever you want to call it. So how would you value the time you're giving and how would you value that in your pricing? And it automatically calculates kind of a price per person. So you could go through that exercise to see what your pricing would have to be to make this type of profit. And again, it's all formulated out so you can play with those numbers. And that's a good exercise to, like you say, math doesn't lie. If it's math, it's true. So you can,
My
that's a
son
great
said
place.
it,
I love that.
so it's gotta be true. Amy, such a great show. Thank you so much for joining us today. Everyone, thanks for tuning in. If you have not as yet had an opportunity to get Amy's free gift, go to growsmarternotharder.com/bundle and get her free gift. It'll tell you all about budgeting and calculating and all of that fun stuff. And come join us at Summit. growsmarternotharder.com/ticket. I'll see you guys on the next show. Bye, everyone.